Okay, but I feel like if a sweet but more masculine presenting person said literally anything, you would think that it was hot.
You're not wrong.
Where are the quiet gays? Where are the quiet gays supposed to go?
I'm excited to talk about this.
Oh my God, I ate this book.
I knew you would. And I did not.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Wow, I was about to go into all you haters out there.
I'm not a hater. We'll talk about it. I'm not a hater.
Well, because here's the thing is that I looked up the reviews online.
I did not, so I'm interested.
And it got really, really mixed reviews. I looked it up after I read it because I was like, oh, everybody else obviously must have loved this book too. And that wasn't the truth. And people...
Well, hold on, wait. Don't tell me what the reviews are because I haven't looked them up. So I feel like I should tell you my thoughts and see if they're consistent with what the kind of negative reviews are.
Okay. But also, like, as an author, to have your work online and then have it get, like, ripped up, I would be so sad.
I know.
Like, for Meryl, who uses they, them pronouns. Hi, Meryl. I loved this book.
I loved it, too. I listened to the audiobook. I loved it. And maybe it was because it was the audiobook, which I thought was done brilliantly. To me, I felt like, okay, I understand now why people read like smut. Like, this was a very smutty book, in my opinion.
It was my first smut.
Okay. But here's the thing. Listening to smut on audiobook while you're like doing stuff, it was so cringe. It was so cringe. So, but also I was like, where is the plot? And I don't mean that in a bad way because a book doesn't have to have like insane plot lines and all these things. But to me, it was like kind of predictable. The dialogue wasn't my super favorite. And maybe if I had read it, it would have been different. But I loved it. I loved what it was going for. The smuttiness was great for sure. But listening to it on audiobook was maybe not the move.
Okay. Yes. I think that it was more character driven than it was plot driven.
Yes.
Which I liked. I like the kind of sitting inside of somebody's brain, especially because I could really put myself inside of both of these characters. It felt very much like excited teenage love, but like as a grown up.
Which that was hard for me because I was like, these are grown women. I don't feel like they would be acting like this, but professional athletes do not mature in the same way. I feel like they do all stay teenagers because they've just been focused on one thing their entire life. So maybe I'm just too harsh of a critic and I'm okay with saying that.
Also, like Phoebe's young and Grace hasn't been out of the closet and neither of them have ever had a girlfriend really. I mean, Grace,
that's true.
Like,
that's
sort
true.
of had a situationship with Kelsey-ish.
Yeah.
And I mean, Phoebe has like had brief girlfriends that didn't really work out, but neither of them have really had a serious relationship. And so for me, it felt kind of, it felt real and on point for them to have those sort of feelings and be acting that way and to really just be figuring it out for the first time with each other and to be a little bit giddy and unsure and like, especially when they're trying to keep it under wraps. And so they don't really have anybody to like turn around and talk to. And so all of that like angst that they have is just trapped inside of their own minds and bodies. And so you're sitting inside of their own streams of consciousness while they are like processing all of it. And you are just like an audience member to that thought process.
That's super fair. And as somebody who's not 25 or was never 22, 23, 24 and dealing with these types of situations, I guess I'm not the right person to like pass judgment because I'm sitting here as like an almost 33-year-old, like person who enjoys like a mature relationship. And not that their relationship wasn't mature, but it is that like young love, very like obsessed with each other, which I love too. Don't get me wrong. You can be obsessed with each other in like a mature way, but it must have been the audiobook. I'm still going with it. This book, I don't think was meant to be an audiobook because I was like, I have just listened to 25 minutes of a sex scene and this book is only 8 hours long. And there were like 4, 5, 6 sex scenes. That's like half the book.
You know, hearing you say that, and also when you were telling me your estimates of how long you had left on this book.
Yeah.
I think that the audiobook took way longer for you to listen to than it like actually takes to read that book.
Really?
Yes, because at the points in which you were telling me that you were at and you were like, yeah, there's like 8 hours left and then or 4 hours or whatever, my little estimate was like, you have 2 hours left. Okay. You know, on the bottom of my Kindle. And just the way that this book reads, like you can kind of fly through it. It was I
listened
read.
at 1.3 speed, 1.35 speed. That's fast.
Yeah, so I think
you think it's the audiobook too.
Just wasn't, yeah. I don't know what that audiobook experience was, but for me, it was like a quick read.
Well, no, I think it was really quick because there wasn't a lot of like crazy plot twists, really. So now I'm wondering how they're going to turn this into a series. Because I'm like, this is a 1-season series, unless we get more from Meryl, which I would read it. Don't get me wrong. I liked the book. I wouldn't read it again, but I'll watch the series. I'll listen to a podcast about it. Like I would absolutely get into it. But if I have to rank our stalker lesbian books, Senator's Wife still by far up there.
I mean, Senator's Wife is phenomenal. I think that these just can't really be compared because they're just they're different. They're too different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. When you talk turning this into a TV series and like trying to find enough content in this to make it a TV series, I think where you find that is that there is a lot in this. I mean, when you're reading a book, like, and you're in their head and stuff like that, you aren't really seeing them as a third person, right? You know, and you would in a TV show. And so there's a lot of scenes that I think that you can make where it's like just very briefly notice like, oh, she looks at Phoebe. She sees Grace on the training field, where that happens very quickly in the book. Yeah. She sees her, she moves towards her, but like that might be kind of a longer drawn out thing. And I bet, you know, they add a lot of stuff in there for drama and whatever, but
for sure.
I don't know. I would watch it. And here I am again being like,
yeah, cast Haylie, people.
Please let me just play a little brown haired soccer girl.
Here's the thing though. We should get into the astrology of this real quick. Cause here's the thing, Grace, who you say you identify more with, right?
I think I really identified with a lot of her thinking processes.
Okay. Yes. I identified a lot with Grace's thinking processes about how her brain is very mean to her and very suspicious in that, like, I understand that from a young, like, that's how I was in a younger perspective. When I say younger, like a year or two ago, I have done a lot of work on those things, but it was hard reading it. I do like the self-awareness that Grace had towards the end of the book, where she's like, why am I thinking this way of Phoebe? Like when she's never given me any reason to. I am definitely guilty of that, especially when I was younger. But I think Grace is like a quintessential earth sign. And I think Phoebe is like a quintessential air sign, like air, or she could even be a fire sign. But I actually like way more identify with Phoebe. Mm-hmm. Like, I just thought she was so quirky, funny, outgoing, like extroverted. And then you had Grace, who was very introverted, but you're so bubbly too. Like, you're so bubbly and fun. I could see, like, if the casting was there, you having an easier time playing Phoebe.
Which I think Phoebe would be so fun to play.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
She would be a really, really fun character to play.
I think you would crush being Phoebe.
That's so nice. Oh. But also, I don't look anything like Phoebe.
Just dye your hair red, put some freckles on, you're fine.
Okay.
Because I think Phoebe is like striking. Phoebe is described as a very striking person. And as everyone can see, Haylie is a very striking person.
Oh, stop.
And if you gave yourself red hair, that would be insane. And then Grace to me feels more like, because she is introverted and she doesn't necessarily care so much about what she looks like. I mean, obviously she's probably gorgeous, but like it just, I don't know. I just see you, if you were to be cast in a role, being Phoebe.
She would be very, very fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. You're like, either one, I'll take it.
Yeah. I feel like we have a lot to talk about with both of these characters. Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the Lesbian Book Club podcast. And
you
today,
know where you are.
Yes, you intentionally came here, hopefully. And today we're going to be talking about Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. And this is another cute little gay soccer book, which we love around here. So hop on this little field in your imagination.
Get on the pitch.
Kick some balls around with us today.
Good one, Haylie.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. That's going to be like 12 minutes in. So wonderful.
Okay. So Grace Henderson has trust issues. Let's get into it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Does Grace Henderson have trust issues, or has Grace Henderson just always been the center of the show and never wanted it? So it's made her not really like herself because she's not doing like what she wants to do or how she wants to do it. Because the trust issues, I feel like, are so internal. It's not actually like an external thing, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't.
I think her trust issues kind of come from, well, first of all, Kelsey.
A girl can really fuck you up in the head, for sure. True. Especially someone who's horrible to you or like uses you in a way.
Yeah. So TLDR, Kelsey was like, hey, Gracie, I'm a cute little soccer player. I want to go pro. Do you know anything about that? And then Grace was like, yeah, girl, let me get you on the crew. And then she was like, hey, coach, look at this girl. She can dribble, score, mostly defensive mid, and probably not scoring, but great girl back here. And then coach was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Let's get her on here. And then Kelsey was like, hey, thanks, Grace. Bye. See you later.
That's so horrible.
Yeah. So that's how that went. Oh, and by the way, there was like, in the meantime, Kelsey was like, hey, kissy, Grace, you're my girl. And yeah, so it was just a little played with little Grace's heart. So, if that made any sense to you guys, I hope it did. Moving on, there's where one trust issue became more trust issues. And then also, I think that this is super applicable to a lot of people in the kind of internet world today and the celebrity culture that we have. And Grace is wrapped up in this celebrity culture. And like you were saying, not by her own choice. She kind of got thrown into that world involuntarily because she likes soccer and she was really good at it. And she had a dream to become a professional soccer player and was given kind of the resources to do that. But in doing so, she became a celebrity of sorts. And when that happens, you lose a lot of privacy. People want to be associated with you. People act shady. They try and use you and get what you have, and often don't really have that much regard for your personal safety or your well-being, and are looking out for themselves. So more trust issues, and there she becomes really guarded and like puts up walls to protect herself. And when she does that, she becomes this character where she's very closed off. She doesn't really have a lot of people close to her. She isn't very vulnerable with people. She's not really like super chatty or outgoing, you know, and she's very private. She's not sharing her private life on the internet. She doesn't like to do any more press than she has to. She is very reluctant to let new people into her life, which is why Phoebe has to kind of really break the door down in order to get Grace to be her friend. So,
but like Phoebe is the perfect character to do that because she's so open. She's so unguarded. She's very just like, this is who I am. She's very out. She's very proud of that fact. And it's such an interesting dynamic to have two characters that really are complete opposites. This is like a opposites attract type of book. But it makes sense. It makes sense why opposites attract is such a good trope, because Grace needs someone like Phoebe to be like, oh, okay. It's okay. Like, I like this person. Maybe there are qualities in her that I like for a specific reason. Because Phoebe, she's so fiery. I take it back. Yeah. I don't think she's an air sign. I think she's a fire sign, especially with the red hair.
Yeah. Well, and Grace also makes assumptions about Phoebe like over and over again, that Phoebe's just trying to use her.
Right. Which is, there's no evidence for that.
Right. She's trying to use her to get on the national team. She's trying to use her to get more playing time on the crew. She's trying to use like just all of these things that she makes these assumptions about Phoebe. And none of them are actually true. And it takes her having a conversation and being willing to let Phoebe talk to her, which Phoebe has to, again, like literally show up at her house in the rain with a suitcase and be like, hello, please, for the love of God, talk to me.
Well, what's funny about that is she didn't even show up at our house. She showed up at a park because she couldn't remember where Grace lived because her phone died. I thought that is what would happen to me. And you can't tell me that's not true. I'd be like, I wouldn't even know how to get a cab though, like a real cab. But
here's all you do: you go throw your arm up in the air on the side of the road. You go, hey, taxi, man. See, I've watched New York movies.
I was gonna say if I was in New York, maybe, but how is this possible? Where are they? Oh no, New Orleans. Oh, also, can we talk about, is their New Orleans team racing Louisville? Like, because they're purple, and like I feel like that was the NWSL team we were at.
Maybe.
This book.
I had a really hard time drawing parallels in this book to like real life.
I did too. That was really my biggest hit was, maybe the New Orleans team is racing Louisville because that's the closest. But I couldn't think of any like WOSO couples or players that this book pulled from. Did you think of anyone? I was like, maybe like I could see Grace maybe being like a lesbian Alex Morgan, just because I think Alex Morgan is like quieter, a little more introverted, has been like a phenom since she was very young. But I was like, but Alex Morgan's straight-ish, at least that we know of. But I couldn't think of anyone for Phoebe. But then I was also thinking, who I was actually, wait, hold on. I had another thought about Grace. Abby Wambach. I thought Grace, because Abby's very quiet. Abby's very like focused on the game, like look at other people, not at me type situation, so that was my only thoughts.
Abby's pretty like goofy and funny, and Grace
wasn't though during her, you're too young. She wasn't during her time on the national team. She was not that like goofy funny. Now she is for sure. I mean, she's like dealt with all of her issues and things like that. But at the time, I thought of her as very like, not quiet, but just reserved. So that was my only other thought parallel wise. Cause I was going to ask you about that because I didn't really think of anyone. And then I was like, I mean, maybe Grace could be like Kristen Press. She's also very quiet. I don't know. I really couldn't put anybody together.
I don't know, because also Kristen Press is very sweet, and Grace
is sweet. She's called Baby Spice.
But like, I think she's called Baby Spice because she started the team when she was like 16, the U.S. national team.
Okay, wait, that plays into my Alex Morgan theory though of Baby Horse. Baby Spice, Baby Horse. Right?
Maybe. But like, what I'm saying about Kristen Press, like, she's so sweet, so kind. And Grace, I mean, Phoebe literally says that Grace has a resting bitch face. And like, she's very blunt. She's not really like fucking around with anything, you know?
Yeah, you're right. So, you're right.
I don't know.
I can't think of anyone.
Yeah, me neither. Okay. We already have kind of talked about this a little bit, but Grace has a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications, and she makes a lot of assumptions. The most egregious that misunderstanding or miscommunication that Grace and Phoebe have is where Phoebe thinks that they're girlfriends because they've had a conversation, which I was on Grace's side here. I was too. Phoebe, whoa.
Okay, time out. I think we should do a very quick rundown, like one of your Olaf Frozen rundowns of the book, just in case. Like, where are we? What is the actual plot? Who are the characters? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, Haylie. Haylie, I feel like you're already ready to go.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So we've touched down in New Orleans, and we have soccer player, phenom Phoebe Matthews. She has come straight from college. She got drafted into the Crew, the New Orleans women's professional soccer team. And there her childhood hero, Grace Henderson, plays, who has been on the U.S. women's national team since she was 16 years old. She's the team captain of the Crew. Phoebe also gets invited to the women's national team camp. And so she goes to that. She's all like, Grace, oh my God, wow. And then she has a bet and ends up winning this bet to kiss Grace Henderson. But then Grace pulls this like crazy little thing where she just like kisses Phoebe's neck, and then a crazy love story is born because wow, they can't get enough of each other. She's left her wanting more. And then what do you know? Bam, they hook up on a locker room bench back in New Orleans, and then bam, wow, every once in a while, you know, they're hooking up again and they have a little shower sex, and then they're very slowly falling in love. Both of them don't want a relationship. Of course not. They don't want a relationship. And also, by the way, Grace is not out. And also, Grace is very private. And then Grace gets hurt. Oh, no. But crazy thing is that Phoebe actually told the trainer about it. And now Grace is really upset about that. And Phoebe gets pulled up to the national team again. And then they go to the World Cup. And then, woo, 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 yay. And Grace is back for that. That's great. By the way, they end up being girlfriends in the long run. And also, Phoebe has a brother that's trans, and Grace meets all of her family, and that's all good. But then they fight, and then was that everything?
Pretty much. And then they finally have a discussion about being girlfriends, and then they're like, yeah, let's do it. And then that's the end of the book.
My heart is beating so fast.
You did so good. Honestly, that was like the best recap you could have done.
I'm good so job, sweaty Haylie. After that. Thank you. That was actually my workout for today.
Okay, perfect. And now we can talk about everything. So when we say Grace and Phoebe, you know who's who and who's got the power and who doesn't. And we literally did the Sheroes Cup, a couple games in the NWSL type league, and then the World Cup. So
yeah,
those are our plot lines.
Yeah.
Incredible job, Haylie. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Okay, so now go on with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Now that we're oriented.
Okay, so egregious girlfriend misunderstanding where Phoebe is like, well, I don't want to hook up with anyone else, do you? And Grace is like, no. And then Phoebe inside of her own head is like, great, we're girlfriends. And Grace just goes along her life thinking like, yeah, this is how it's been already, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And is not aware of the whole Phoebe thinking they're girlfriends thing. And so a month goes by, and then Phoebe slips out, I love you. And then Grace is like, and she was about to tell Phoebe that she had feelings for her and that she was thinking maybe she wants to be her girlfriend. So then later, Phoebe makes a joke of like, oh, but we don't want a relationship, right? But she's being facetious, and Grace does not pick up on that. And she's like, oh my God, but Phoebe doesn't actually like me. She's just joking with me. And so the whole time, neither of them think the other one likes them, even though they literally are in love and having sex this entire time and spending every second of every day together, which is just insane. But anyway, so then they finally have a talk, and they're like, Grace is like, wait a second, you thought we've been dating for a month? And Phoebe's like, we haven't. And then my favorite line of this whole thing was when Grace was like, but you haven't been my girlfriend for a month. And Phoebe was like, that sounds like a personal problem. We have been dating for a month. And I was like, what is going on here?
My line of the book was the Phoebe I love you line, because I was like ferociously mopping my floor of these fucking ants when I heard that, because I finished the book today as the slow reader that I am. I was ferocious. I was so pissed at these ants. I fucking hate them. And then that line dropped in my ears, and I was like, oh my God, did that just happen? Like, I seriously was like, oh, Grace is going to freak out. Like, this is not good. Like, and then the way Phoebe handled it is exactly how I would have handled it. I was like, you don't have to say it back. It was just a thing I said. Like, it's not, let's just pretend like that wasn't a thing. But that was so funny to me that whole time. These girls never talk to each other. I feel like as women, we have so much internal dialogue, and we make up so many stories in our head out of anxiety and fear and, Grace's trust issues. And we don't like just talk to the person that we are making stories about. And I think it's so silly.
Well, it's so funny because like, I can totally be like that. My girlfriend, on the other hand, will just be like, what did you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean when you say that?
Yes. Which is so good, because then you get to explain.
Yeah. Or she'll think something and she'll say it the second she thinks it. And I'm like, oh, so yeah, like, we're saying the things that we think, okay, got it. Let me okay, here we go. She's like, oh,
are you good?
You dripping sweat right now.
She's like, do you not live your life like this? What?
I'm currently actually sweating really bad.
I know. I can see it. And I feel bad.
I say that at least once a podcast.
I'm so cold right now. Because I was like, my workout was mopping and cleaning. I put my AC down to like 70 and I forgot to turn it back up to like 74, and I'm freezing, and I have 2 fans on in my room. Like I have 2 ceiling fans in this room, and yeah, it's cold in here. So we're at opposites right now.
I'm so happy for you.
You should come over. You should come hang out. Just chill here in the nice cold. Because I have solar panels. So I have like a negative bill for electricity.
Isn't your life just great?
To be honest, it really is. So it's true. But I'm offering it to you. I'm saying, come out here.
Thank you. Thank you.
My house is so clean right now. Okay. But the book does end with them being girlfriends. So the misunderstanding is, Phoebe kind of like badgers her way in, which I kind of appreciate. And it's pretty good.
There's also like, because Grace has so many miscommunications about things, she also, I feel like at times over clarifies, like when she calls Sorrel. Yeah.
This is going to be good. I'll be able to tell you all the pronunciations.
Yeah. Sorrel, she calls Sorrel to be like, hey, can we go get coffee and talk? And her friend is like, yeah, everything good? And she's like, yeah, to be clear, I'm not asking you out on a date. And
wait,
she was like, yeah, no, I figured that. Yeah, we're good. And then we get to the date and Grace is like, yeah, not the date. We get to the coffee shop and Grace is like, yeah, just remember this isn't a date. So I was like, yeah, don't worry.
I love all the parts you're bringing up because these are all the parts that I had visceral reactions to and know exactly where I was when I was listening. I was in line at H&M checking out when this was happening and I was like 2 people deep and I heard that and I was like, Grace, shut the fuck up. She knows that. And then Sorrel's like, yeah, but I'm also dating Rodriguez. So like, I don't like Grace is very insecure. She's so insecure and also like kind of prideful in like thinking that everyone wants to date her and like use her for something. And I'm like, you have the big head. Like, it's not like the outside media pressure making you into having this big head. You're doing it to yourself, to be honest. But yeah, you keep bringing up all the things that I was seriously had things to say about. So I love this.
I think that she's insecure because she has insecurity in her value because her entire identity has been wrapped up in soccer her whole life.
Oh, yeah. And that was the one thing that I very much want to talk about is her dad and that phone conversation that they have. So maybe we'll talk about that right after this. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because she has spent her whole life like with golden child syndrome, like oldest child syndrome, acting as a role model on teams. She's team captain. She's, and she feels like she has this big responsibility to do really well because she split up her family. Like they sacrificed so much for her to be able to do this.
Right.
And in her mind, that's what everybody sees her as and values her as because she thinks like, oh, well, it's the only thing my parents ask me about. It's the first thing they ask me about. It's what anybody asks me about. Like they care about how I do in soccer. And that's how they see me. It's what my value is. And so here she is. And all of a sudden she has an injury that she doesn't know when she's going to come back from it or even if she is, because for a while she thinks that it's because her body's aging. And she thinks that
was
like,
funny.
I know.
That was funny. I was like, you are 26. Calm down.
Right. But like, she thinks that maybe this is it. And she's put all of her eggs in this soccer basket her entire life. And her whole identity and value is wrapped up in this thing. She hasn't really, made any investments in relationships or other career aspects or anything outside of that. And what is her value now?
Right.
So,
which I feel like is probably a very common thing that professional athletes, especially female professional athletes, as there isn't a lot of money in it. It's growing for sure. But right now it's like, okay, now you're 28, 29, your career is over because you're older than like these young players that are coming in. And now what? You haven't made millions. It's very much like Abby I love Abby, but very much like Abby Wambach, where she won like the greatest player or whatever at the ESPYs with like Kobe Bryant and that quarterback guy, is it Peyton Manning? I don't know. And she was like, and all 3 of us were, oh yeah, football. I don't. She was like walking off the stage with the award being like, we're walking into very different retirements. And I think Grace is like, luckily Grace has the endorsements and the sponsorships, but that's the only place there's money in it for female athletes. And so to have that be your whole life, your whole identity, you've sacrificed everything for it. Your family has sacrificed and you're 26 thinking about retiring. Now, what are you going to do? If you aren't Grace, if you aren't Alex Morgan, if you aren't, Megan Rapinoe, you got to go get what? Like a normal job. That doesn't make any sense. You also don't have any skills unless you did like graduate college, which more and more. Well, a lot of girls now are skipping college to go into the professional league. And it's like, but then what are you going to do? Right. It's rough.
Yeah. I mean, it's why you are starting to see a lot of women, like take a look at Angel City, for example. And
I'll use, talk about this too.
Yeah, I'll use Angel City because that's our team. We both live in LA, and we have different players that have been reaching outside of soccer and branching out into different things. And, you know, while they're still professionals in soccer and they're performing very well, they're also performing very well and doing other things. Like, for example, there's Jasmine, who is she has a clothing brand. She's doing a lot of stuff for the environment. She's a very big advocate for that. Like, she's, you know, starting another career doing that. There's Kristen Press, who has partnered with Tobin Heath and has her podcast.
With Tobin Heath, LOL. They like wear rings. I'm pretty sure they're married.
Probably. And they have Re-Ink, the clothing line.
This is me being the people on L chat speculating on their relationship.
Yes. Oh my God. There's Didi Hadachich, who has a photography business and a coffee line. Mm-hmm. There's Sarah, who is a model. I mean, what else? There's all sorts of athletes who are doing lots of businesses aside from soccer.
But Angel City also has a really cool program, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's an entire program to help female athletes, especially like obviously the girls on the team, but other female athletes have jobs and opportunities after they retire. They have a whole program for it. And I think that's so freaking cool. Like, I love the idea of that because, yeah, like we just said, like there's not a ton of money in being a professional female athlete right now, unless you are at the top. So, I love that. I love the programs. I love what they're all doing, but also they shouldn't have to do these other ventures in order to make a living.
Right. I mean, same goes for like pretty much everybody in America right now.
Yeah. You should be able to work a 40-hour week and be able to support yourself, have a good time, and support yourself financially. And it's just not like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway.
Me shouting to the void about my $800 power bill this month.
You call and ask for a discount. I'd say I'd do it, but I hate phone calls.
Same. Okay. You know what I also want to talk about in relation to Grace has all of this pressure from the outside world that she's experiencing, whether or not, you know, people are actually putting this pressure on her, or if she is experiencing it as a result from like her interpretation of things. But she has done something that I absolutely love, and she has made her living space her sanctuary. I love when
You're such a Taurus. You're such a Taurus. Oh my God. Maybe Grace is a Taurus. You are such a Taurus. Your living space, your also Venus ruled self. Oh, love it.
Oh, I love when people do this. I do this. My living space is my sanctuary. And hers, her pillows, enormous amount of pillows that she has. I'm not like necessarily a pillow girl, but she is, and she has them so that she can be comfy cozy. Okay. It has her little quiet time to do her crossword puzzles every single day. She has her Friday night pizzas in her home that she usually has nobody in because it's quiet and she likes it that way. And she has a fluffy white cat because that is the cherry on top to a sanctuary, obviously.
And a cherry on top for a lesbian to have a cute cat named Lily, who is a boy.
Yeah. I love gender swapped names, by the way. I plan on naming all of my children boys' names for girls.
Ooh, like what? I love the name Charlie for a girl.
I refuse to say them on the podcast because nobody's stealing my names.
Oh, you're one of those people. Okay, well, I like Charlie and Ryan for girls.
That's my sister's name, right?
Really? I knew that, didn't I?
Her name is Kimberly Ryan, but she was supposed to just be Ryan. And then my parents were afraid that when she went to school and teachers just read like the class roster, that they would assume she was a boy. Okay. And so they didn't want that to happen. And so they were like, we'll
give her the girliest name, the pink Power Ranger name.
Kimberly, right? They got it from a song. I can't remember what song it is, but yeah, they liked it. Yeah. And
wait, Kimberly, you have Ryan. Girl names for boys?
No. I like nature names for boys and boy names for girls.
That does not surprise me. Like, well, I guess Willow's a girl name. That's also really hippie. Willow. I think it's cute.
I'm not really into Willow, but
you know a girl name I really loved, but I couldn't because it would sound really stupid with my last name.
What?
Heidi.
Heidi Hogue. It does sound dumb.
That sounds so dumb. But Heidi's so cute. Also, if I had another kid, which I will not, but if I did, I don't think I would. I think I'd have to go back to like my maiden name because I wouldn't want to give a kid this last name. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I would. I never thought about it because I'm not having another kid. So,
right.
They can take my uterus out of me if they would like. I don't care. It's not my ovaries because I don't want to go into menopause.
I just had the most sickening thought, and I
knew something happened over there. I was like, what? You like went, yes, you like went blank and then like, huh? And I was like, that was not a response to what I said. What did you think?
I don't know. I think this becomes rated E for explicit if I say what I said.
That's fine. Say it.
What I thought.
We covered disobedience. It's fine. Go.
Everyone's going to know how to stir Diane.
That's okay.
When you were like, I can't say this.
Now you have to, though. Is it about like, taking my uterus?
Yes, when you were like, take my uterus out of me, I was like, you could self-do that if you just prolapse it and snip it out.
Wait, hold on. I told you how I thought my uterus was prolapsing, right?
Yeah, I know. That's why I
okay. So we're both disturbed. But I went to the doctor yesterday and it's not.
That's really good.
I know. I was really scared that my uterus was prolapsing. Hi, everyone. I share my medical issues. But it wasn't. It's actually totally fine. My uterus is right where it's supposed to be. And well, I won't tell you what is wrong, but I have a pill and I'm going to be fine. Okay. So back to these tiny little humans, because they're only like, how old is Phoebe? Because Grace is 26, but how old's Phoebe? 22, because they're 4 years apart.
Yeah, she's coming straight out of college. She'd be 22.
Oh, they're so young. I wish I was a 21, 22-year-old lesbian who was super out. That would have been so much more fun for me. We're not going down Lauren's deep life regrets on this podcast, but that might be one of them.
Well, I was a 21, 22-year-old lesbian who was out, and you know,
it wasn't that fun.
It wasn't that fun.
It's fair. No. But you were also in Montana.
Yeah, I was. Which I want to say something about small town America. And I remember, I was thinking about this before we hopped on the podcast, that I wanted to talk about this. And now I can't remember why. And it had to do with football and how important sports are to small town America.
Oh, well, I have a guess as to maybe where you were going with that. Maybe were you going with like how important like sports stars are to small town America, and if they come out or if they have any type of different all-American look, it is like a big deal? Or
no, it had to do with money.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I think it was, I was going to talk about like how the only way to get out, like when you're a kid, is, you know, you have these big dreams of like getting out and growing up and being a star in something or being really good at something. And so a lot of these places, like nobody has money. And the sports culture is really, really, really important because there's nothing else. Like,
right.
You're isolated from everywhere else, at least where I grew up and a lot of other places. Yeah. And the only thing to do is to play sports and to be really invested in sports and the culture of sports. And so everybody is really into it.
Right.
And it's also a way to build community and gathering and all of that stuff. And to be involved in your community. But it's also like, if you're going to get a scholarship to go to college and get out of there, it's probably, well, it's either in sports or academics. And a lot of people, like academics, you're not really going to get a scholarship or like at least a full ride one, but sports you might. So anyway, people really put their all into that. So I think where I was going with it is maybe something about Phoebe's financial situation and being able to.
Well, yeah, because they do talk about that and how Phoebe grew up pretty poor and how her brother needed puberty blockers and health insurance doesn't cover it because they see it as elective. And luckily times have changed somewhat in that area. So that's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that probably is where you're going.
Yeah.
But I do have one parallel that I know is where it's at. Okay. The reporter, but she's a real life person. I know who they base that off of. That parallel is Meg Lineman at The Athletic, because she is the top sports reporter for women's soccer. She's like friends with all of them. And that's who Grace gives her exclusive to Coming Out. And I was just like, as soon as they said the name, what is the name of the reporter? I'm sure you have it in your notes. Yeah. God damn it.
I don't remember.
But it's really similar. I want to say it might even be like Meg something. But I remember thinking that and being like, that must be so cool for Meg, especially with it being like turned into a series and like her character is going to be in there. I thought that was so cool.
That is so cool. Yeah. Her coming out. Let's talk about that.
Oh, I would love to. This is like exactly what I would have wanted to happen. Like that, no, not like that, but like her coming out was so special to think of her being like, this is something that I want to do. And I did like the pushback that her friends gave her of you can't come out for a person. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really important because that's like my stance too, is if you're in a closeted relationship, the person who is closeted cannot be forced out of the closet. And they need to do it of their own volition and they need to do it for themselves. And so I really like that was brought up, but I just loved that Grace was like, it isn't for Phoebe, but like Phoebe got me there, you know? I really love that. I thought that was beautiful because she's like, no, it's not for Phoebe, but it is like because of Phoebe, you know, the distinction there.
Right. I want to see in the series how they do Grace walking into the film room when everybody is on their phones reading this article, because she didn't say like, how does Grace react to seeing that? Right. And also I want to see, because this whole part of like, once that article has been released is from Phoebe's point of view. So I want to see Grace's point of view from once the article has been released to like waiting to see everybody's reaction to it and what she felt like. And if she was, experiencing anxiety or if she just kind of had a sense of acceptance and calm, where was she at? That sort of thing.
Honestly, like thinking about Grace as a person, especially if she is a little Taurus baby, I don't think she had anxiety about it. I think that she like waiting for it to be released was like, I know what's going to happen. I've thought through all of the repercussions. I'm okay with all of them. So I'm not scared of anything. I really think she had like a calmness to her. And I think the only person's opinion that mattered to her was Phoebe's. And she already knew what Phoebe's reaction was going to be. So I don't think there was any anxiety on her side at all. But I would love to see that in the series as well, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think she was anxious or you think she was calm?
I mean, if it was me, I would have been anxious.
Well, you're just an anxious girl.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just want to know.
Okay. I hope they do that. Maybe Meryl will listen and they will tell us somewhat. I don't know. Maybe
so.
Yeah. Meryl, we loved your book. Haylie loved it incredibly. I think I should have read it. I'm sorry. Write a sequel. I'll read that one. I promise. I mean, we have to talk about the sex scenes.
Yes, we did.
We have to talk about them because okay. Haylie and I normally don't discuss the books before we record an episode. But we will like text each other and whatnot. But when we went to the Angel City game on Friday, I made a point and we went with my friend Susie as well. And then Ava, my daughter, came. So it was really fun, the four of us. But I was like, there's one thing I want to talk about with the sex scenes. And that is the use of, like, do I say it or do I just like say like the C word?
I don't know what the procedure is here.
I don't either. I like the word. Don't get me wrong. I think cunt is like a great word, but I wouldn't use it during sex. I don't think. I never have.
I wouldn't. I don't think it's like a sexy word.
I can see it being sexy, but like if I said it, it wouldn't be sexy.
Okay, if who said it, would it be sexy? Because I didn't think that it was like a sexy word at all.
Like a sweet but more like masculine presenting person saying it, I think that would be kind of hot.
Okay, but I feel like if a sweet but more masculine presenting person said literally anything, you would think that it was hot.
You're not wrong. But see, they could get away with it, and I'd be like, "That's hot. Say it again." But okay, so the reason I was bringing up the Angel City game when we talked about it was because my friend Susie said, lesbians don't say that. That's not real. And I wanted to talk about these sex scenes and like the dialogue. This is what I was saying in the beginning about the dialogue. It didn't feel super real to me. It felt like what like fanfic would be of two women, like written by somebody who is like a woman who loves women. Like I didn't find it degrading. I didn't find it any of like that, but I didn't find it to be like an accurate representation of lesbian sex. The physicality of the sex scenes, absolutely. Like what was going on, you know, some parts, the giggling, the like funness, but then also sometimes like the intensity, all of that. I was like, yes, that is the quintessential like sex that lesbians have. But the dialogue I didn't like.
I feel like if you just took out the use of the word cunt, it felt like fairly realistic to me.
Okay, maybe. But and again, also, I'll say it again. It was really cringe to listen to someone read the sex scenes.
Yeah, I would be crawling in my skin if I was listening.
It was not
reading it though.
Oh God. Good.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you. I believe you 100%.
Don't read this in a public place, everybody, because I would have started sweating bullets. This is like the same as when I watched Disobedience in the public library.
I can't believe you did that. Oh yeah, when I was listening to this, I was like, I hope Haylie's reading this at home because she couldn't handle it. I could like walk through Target listening to it and be like, whatever. What did you think of the scenes? I thought the locker room scene when they first had sex, I thought that was the hottest scene I've ever read. Like bar none.
Yeah, it was really good. And
then they went to the shower. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was so good. That would be a fun scene to watch. But is it Netflix that's doing it? It's A Touch More, right? It's Megan and Sue's production company. But where are they going to host it?
Yeah, I don't know what.
I thought it was going to be, maybe it'd be HBO.
Let me look it up.
Okay. Because I would absolutely love to see that sex scene. We should talk about who we think should be cast. Obviously Haylie. But like if we had big names, which you will be a big name, I know it, but.
Yeah, Burton Rapinoe's production company, A Touch More and Future Shack have optioned the book and are in development with the project. No network is attached. So
Okay.
We don't know yet.
Well, that's good. I hope we go not Netflix.
Who would you want
I kind of say
it?
no Netflix for everything. When I want like a limited series, which I think this would most likely be, I don't think you could drag this on for 3 seasons or something. When I think limited series, I think Showtime or HBO. I think Showtime does an incredible job with their limited series. At HBO as well. And I also think you don't have the like hindrances of like Netflix being a kind of more family oriented. Like these are hot sex scenes. I want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you know what else I just thought about that probably will get like more airtime on the show than it did in the book is the actual soccer games.
Okay.
And like in the locker room with the team, all of those girls and characters, I bet will get a lot more screen time.
I also thought the family like flashbacks or something might be very heavily utilized, especially on Phoebe's end with the poverty and the brother and things like that. I think that could definitely be a few episodes worth of. There's definitely a way to make it into 3 seasons, but you know, I don't know. I don't know if the plot is there unless you do like a Game of Thrones, which definitely has plot. Don't come for me, guys. But where you branch off from the book and start writing things different and like more ahead. I guess you could do that. But what I was saying about the limited series is like, I think Evelyn Hugo, which got picked up by Netflix, it should be on Showtime or HBO. It should, because that should be a limited series. 1000%. It should not be a movie whatsoever. And if it, I have so many thoughts about that. But
I started reading that. I'm on page 2.
Oh my God. You know what? We should do another Evelyn Hugo episode. We should do an Evelyn Hugo with Haylie. Because Haylie, it's my most favorite book ever. I've read it 4 times. I give it to everyone. I tell everyone to read it. Before we get off of Grace, I want to talk about her dad.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
Grace calls her dad at the end of the book when she's kind of trying to figure out what to do, and has this like very loving heart-to-heart conversation with her dad where her, you know, Grace, like Haylie has said, is very much feels that her whole identity is soccer. That's the only reason people like her, etc. Right. And her dad says like, basically like, hey, like, that's not true. I don't necessarily even like soccer. I like soccer because you like soccer. And that's what if you loved horseback riding, I would have taken you to the Kentucky Derby. Right. And I feel like that is the perfect parent, right? Is not forcing your own loves and likes on your children, but promoting what they are interested in, because you have to keep your child's individuality at the forefront of their experience in childhood. And her dad just said, like, I love you no matter what. If you retire from soccer, we will find other talking points because I love you. And I think that was and is and will be a very healing point for a lot of queer people who read the book, who maybe are coming from families who aren't accepting, but to, you know, and then to have this put onto the screen for a wider audience. I really hope that phone call gets put into the show. I think it'd be so healing and beautiful to see acted out in a good way, you know, like with talent on the screen. I just think what did you think of that conversation?
It was beautiful. And the piece that I really took away from this that I loved a lot, because it is something that I come back to over and over again, is you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. Like, this is your life. You have one life to live, and everybody else does not get to live your life for you. And that's where Grace comes to the conclusion that, okay, she's done with press and she's going to turn over the captainship to Sorrel. And she's going to go back to playing soccer for the original reason that she decided to become a professional soccer player. And that's because she loves soccer, not because she has to do the press that comes with it and she has to be the captain and take care of everybody and be a leader. And she all of these other extra responsibilities that are dragging her down and away from her love of soccer. No, she can come back to that. And she doesn't have to do all of the rest of this just because other people want her to do that. And that is so widely applicable to everybody in every aspect of life. And I love it so much.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that was really all I had to say about it. I just wanted to focus on it for a second because I just loved the dad's reaction. I loved the way this part was written, and it was just such an open and sweet conversation. And I just wanted to talk about it for, a minute or two. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's talk about Phoebe.
Yeah. Phoebe, our sweet ADHD queen who has...
Wait, yes. Yeah, I have ADHD, everyone. And so I can't not interrupt Haylie as second she said that with the thought that I had. I have been telling you, Haylie, that I very much identify with Phoebe. When Grace fucking drops the ball on her that she has, or I guess just drops a bomb on her, not the ball. She didn't drop the ball. Drops a bomb on her that she thinks she's ADHD. I was like, oh, even more so we're the same. I literally was like, this is hilarious. Although the one ADHD thing I don't have is I am so on time no matter what. I will be 30 minutes early because that is how I have compensated with my anxiety about being late. Okay. So our ADHD queen Phoebe, go.
Our ADHD queen Phoebe, who has no rules socially. She's the class clown.
Yep.
Loyal, go-getter, fearless. We love her. She cannot be on time. She sets a million alarms and then sleeps through them all. Yep. Which, relatable. I am on time, but I do sleep through all my alarms.
You are on time. I very much appreciate that about you. You are a punctual person.
That is because I, too, have crippling anxiety. And I fear that everyone will hate me if I'm 1 minute late.
Yeah, absolutely will.
Yeah. So, anyway, so Phoebe, it goes nowhere without a smile. She is just making jokes. She's jumping around everywhere. She's talking to everybody, little bubbly, fun, in the center of everything, loves to be the center of attention. And she's a middle child. And yet when it's time for her to focus and work hard, she is the hardest worker there is, and will outwork everyone, out hustle everyone, will be the best. She works 2 jobs. She has soccer and she works at the diner because she has a little bit of a financial struggle, which I think that's maybe something that we could talk about here is the dynamics in a relationship where there's 2 different financial situations. And I mean, that can be a thing that's no problem at all. We talk about it, we work it out. And I mean, either way, it requires communication and transparency.
Yeah.
It could also be something that's really stressful and, contributes to conflict and hardships for, the party with less resources if there's a lack of understanding or a lack of communication, which that's kind of where we start out here is there's not communication about that. Grace doesn't understand the financial situation that Phoebe's coming from, and that's where, Phoebe speaks up about dinner and is like, hey, you can't just spring dinner on somebody. I literally don't have money in my bank account for that.
Right.
And at that point, that's where Grace is like, oh, you're right. I shouldn't do that. I should have thought about that.
I did think that this was very much a woman's response to this type of conversation being brought up. I feel like this conversation might be easier to have between 2 women because of the understanding, because I thought Grace's reaction was perfect. I was like, Grace was like, no, I should pay. I make more money than her, right? Say you go to a $60 dinner for 2 people. $30 for one person is very different than $30 for another person. Mm-hmm. $30 could be 10% of what someone even has in their bank account for one dinner. You know, that's why Phoebe was like, I have a mac and cheese I was looking forward to, because that's so cheap. And $30 to Grace is what, like 1% of her bank account. It's different. And I do think that the person who makes more money should pay more often in a relationship. That's all. That's my take.
Right. And Grace handles it very well. And then Phoebe handles it very well too. I mean, it could be easy to get sucked into feeling ashamed on Phoebe's side. And it could be also really easy for them to spin into an unhealthy power dynamic here. And they don't do that. So anyway, I liked the way that the difference in financial status was portrayed here. Yes, in this book. So good job, Meryl. The bets. Phoebe's always making bets, and Grace has a line.
She's so competitive. My mom. Okay, so I come from a very competitive family. My dad wasn't competitive, but my mom, my sister, and I, hyper competitive people. We always have been. And my mom always would say, in such a joking way, because she is so competitive, she would say, competitive people are so stupid. Like, she always says it. And I just started saying that to my oldest daughter because she is also hyper competitive. And I'm like, now I understand why my mom says that, because it is a joke, but it is true. Like, I will fucking accidentally wreck a relationship because I didn't win at Monopoly. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like winning is part of my identity and I have to win. I've gotten a lot better. When I was married, there was a group of guy friends that always played board games, and they would like let the wives play sometimes. And then I was not allowed to play anymore. Because it was okay. I don't need to get into it. I'm not going to defend myself. It was me. I was a problem. Hi, it's me. But yeah, I forgot how I got here, but competitive people really are dumb and stupid, but I understand them on a level and I'm not going to change.
Well, Grace has this line at some point. She's talking to Phoebe and she's like, can you do anything without placing a bet on it?
No, I can't. I would try, but I can't.
But the thing is
I can't take it off.
Phoebe has like a perfect track record. She wins all of these bets.
Exactly. That's my whole thing. I wouldn't be competitive if I wasn't good at actually winning. Then I wouldn't care. Phoebe
has another thought that I really, really appreciated her for. And that was when she thought that Grace didn't like her, or like Grace kind of had rejected her in a way. And so Phoebe stopped flirting with her. This was on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
So Phoebe won't flirt because it does not count as flirting when the other party doesn't want it. Holla freaking hallelujah. That's right, Phoebe. You understand.
Yes, good job. Exactly. Good job, Phoebe.
Yeah. It's cute little fun flirting time when both parties are interested. But if one party expresses that, oh, I'm actually okay, I don't really want this.
Yeah.
Then that's no longer flirting. Even if you're doing the same exact thing and it was flirting before, now you're harassing them because they've asked you to not do it.
Exactly. It is. It turns into harassment because it's a consent issue at that point.
Yes.
It's like, I don't want you throwing this type of energy at me. Please don't. And if they do, that's violating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so she did it. And then Grace was like offended that she wasn't flirting with her anymore. She was like, but you told me you didn't want a relationship or to like hook up with me or be with me. So why would I expend that energy? Grace is full of contradictions for sure. And Phoebe is like, there are no contradictions in Phoebe. She is just Phoebe. I love that. Yeah. I feel like I am more Phoebe. I'm like, no, like I am going to live my life exactly how I want it to be. And I'm not going to have all this internal dialogue fighting with myself and present one thing to one person and one thing to other. That takes so much time and energy. Why? This is who I am. If you like me, great. If you don't, great. But I'm not going to twist myself into a pretzel to be something that somebody else likes. It makes no sense to do that. The only person I'm hurting is myself.
Right.
So anyway, that's my soapbox.
Yay.
Yay. You're so cute.
But as we're talking about like dating and hooking up and whatever, I want to talk about hookup culture because I am eternally confused about it. And all of my friends that participate in hookup culture, I always ask them about it because I simply don't understand. And in this way, this is one of the ways in which I related to Grace because she also did not understand hookup culture.
Yeah.
And so, like, okay, here's where it's confusing for both Grace and I.
Okay.
Is that there's no rules. There's no rules about this and how it's supposed to go, at least accessible to me or her. That, like, where the heck are they? Nobody has told us. What are you supposed to do when they arrive? Okay, first of all, how are you supposed to approach somebody and be like, so you want to just have sex and then never talk again? Or, okay, is it that? Or is it have sex and never talk again? Or is it have sex and then not talk and then have sex and then not talk and then have sex and not talk? Or
what do you want to talk about?
Until... I don't know, until like one of you just is done or just gets in a relationship. Like, I don't understand that part. Okay. And then what I also don't understand is the actual logistics of it. So,
okay.
Do you just text them and invite them to your house and you just go straight to your house? And then you're like, okay, here's my bedroom. Is it direct like that? Like you just walk straight to your bedroom and then you're just like, all right, let's get to it. And there's no, like, you don't, like it's just you hop straight into it. And then when it's done, is it just like, okay, bye? Or are you supposed to like cuddle with somebody that you aren't even in a relationship with or interested in being in a relationship with? And how long are you supposed to do that for? And then they just go? Or if it's really late, then are they supposed to spend the night so they aren't driving home and they're tired and it's dark? And then if they spend the night, then what's the procedure? Are they supposed to eat breakfast with you or do they just leave? And I don't understand.
Spiral sin over there. Hold on. You got to let me answer some of these. Not that I am a partaker in hookup culture, but let's just go back to what you said at the beginning. There are no rules. And while you were spiraling, I was thinking, like, I was listening, but I was half listening. But I was thinking... I think hookup culture, whether you engage in it or don't engage in it, has to do with how you view sex. And I was thinking about, Rox and I actually talked about this on the Evelyn Hugo podcast. And I said, I'm not somebody to be in really hookup culture because I don't like having sex without it having meaning. Like, I don't know necessarily how to do that. Can I do it? Yeah, but it's not my favorite thing to do. I rather have, but then I also have been thinking that I'm more like demisexual where like I need that like emotional fulfillment. But again, I think it has to do with how you view sex. If sex isn't like this like soul swapping experience and it's like a purely pleasure seeking experience, which I think is absolutely fine for that to be your view of sex or your view of sex at the time or your view of sex with this one person. I think that's fine. But if you're not somebody who doesn't have that view of sex and you view it as a very intimate, very special thing, always, you're not going to understand hookup culture. And I think all of that is fine. I think all of that is okay. You know what I mean? I don't think you, Haylie, need to worry about any of these fears that you were just talking about because you are somebody that I know views sex as a very special thing. Mm-hmm. So don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, you're right. I don't have to worry
about it.
What a relief.
Yeah, there you go. See? Stop sweating. For me, like, I don't know. I think as I've gotten a little bit older, I'm more okay with like casual sex. It doesn't bother me, but that's also casual sex with women, which I think is different because I just think it's different. It is different. You know, it's not as casual as maybe casual sex would be between a hetero couple, right? Because with women, you are dealing with more openness and vulnerability between the two of you that you wouldn't. I'm not saying you're not going to get that in a hetero relationship. I'm not like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there is just like a baseline level of understanding. So I think it's just easier to have more of a casual relationship because I think you are going to talk about it a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of how Grace and Phoebe did, where they're like, what are we doing? Like, is this, I mean, they went through some of the same little spirals you were, right? Mm. I think hookup culture is fine as long as everyone's consenting and there's good communication. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against hookup culture. I just truly cannot get my head around it. Like, I can't understand what happens.
But you also hold sex in a very high regard. And I'm not saying that people in hookup culture hold sex in a low regard. It's just a different regard. For you, it's like this criteria has to be met in order for me to have sex with someone, right? For other people, there isn't that criteria. It's like, what's that word? Primal, where it's like, I am sexually attracted to you. You're sexually attracted to me. Let's like act on that. Right. And then you're like, cool, great. You know, for you though, it's like X, you know, check. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
So it's just different views. And I do, again, like I said, I think it comes down to how you view sex. And honestly, how you view sex is going to change throughout your life. It's going to move up and down, or I mean, you know, it could stay stagnant, but I think humans like to evolve and humans like to evolve their understandings of everything. And that includes sex. Everybody's different. That is the widest opening of a mug I've ever seen in my life. I would spill that in a hot second.
I got this at a thrift store in Portland, Oregon, among a few other ceramics, because I am unable to control myself around ceramics. And I packed them in my already too full suitcase. So that's that.
That's cute, Kate. That's cute.
Thank you. Why is Kelsey so sneaky?
Excellent topic switch. What are you talking about?
How at the game, or can't? Yeah, I think it was at the game. She was
with the braiding.
Well, yes, the braiding, and she's asking Phoebe questions about Grace's injury and stuff like that. And, you know, she just clearly knows that there's something going on, and she's trying to pry information about Grace. And Phoebe has no idea the context of who Kelsey is. And that was just a little like, Kelsey, why are you a little snaky snake?
A little snaky snake.
Yeah, she gave me not good vibes at all.
No, she sucks. Kelsey sucks. It was definitely like very calculated. It wasn't a pure like wondering about Grace. It was very much like keep your friends close and your enemies closer situation. Mm-hmm. Yep. How did we get to this? Why was that where you went after that?
It was my next bullet point.
Okay. Yeah, I think Kelsey is going to be like kind of, I mean, again, there's not a huge plot in this book. So Kelsey is the closest to a villain we're going to get. When like, we don't know any of Kelsey's backstory. Maybe she grew up really poor in a cutthroat environment. And this is just what you had to do to survive. That would give a lot more context, but there wasn't really like a lot of multidimensional character development for Kelsey specifically.
No. Kelsey's the villain, and also their coach. Who like won't play another strategy and is just.
But even that was kind of boring of a plot line.
If you were to place a villain in this story, how would you do it?
Ooh, I would have made it Gabby Rodriguez.
Why and how?
Because there was a little attraction with Phoebe. And Phoebe was like, if I wasn't flirting with Grace, I would probably flirt with Gabby. And they live like across the hall. They have the same apartment, easy access. Like I would have put in, if I was doing this more of a plot driven book, I would have had the main conflict of this book be that Phoebe hooked up with Gabby. And then had to explain that to Grace, and then have Grace have her meltdown, have them not be on good terms, maybe during the World Cup, have them lose in the finals, and then go through that type of plot line. And then eventually, because they didn't go through that many hurdles. Like it wasn't like we've beaten the odds situation, which is, if that's not what you're going for in a book, then that's fine. Right. But if I was going to make a villain, I'd make it Gabby. I should write a book.
Diabolical.
Thank you. I like that description of a word for me because it's not really something I am. Go.
Sorrel was totally onto them.
Yes. Do you think anyone else was onto them throughout the book?
Well, judging by how shocked Fish was, for one. And then also the couple that's married, they were cute. Seemed, I mean, okay, Mediha was like, oh yeah, that adds up.
Yeah.
The other one was like, did not see that coming, but okay.
But that made me think that the other one, whose name I can't remember, was the one who actually had, like, physically had the baby, because it doesn't, like, that's a newer baby, right? You're not that observant when you like just have a baby, but the other one probably could have been pretty observant, because she was like, you remember how they were looking at each other, blah, blah, blah. I don't think we're just calling her the other one, the other partner.
Yeah, sorry, the other one. I can't remember your name.
Yeah, but that's the thing about being in a closeted relationship, right? It's like no one knows about it. And I think that's a really like stifling place to be, because you don't have anyone to talk about it with, because you're worried about what's going to happen if you aren't closeted anymore in this relationship. Do you think there's going to be a sequel?
I feel like totally there could be, because, well, see, here's the thing is that we don't know if the coach is going to continue to play them on the same, like at the same time, in the same position. We don't know. What if somebody gets traded? That would be such a scary little thing for a relationship.
This is all plot. This is all, oh God, I was, of course, I got to do that once an episode, tip my computer over. This is all plot that could have been in there. Like there's so much plot that could happen.
Yeah.
I want more plot next book. I'll keep the sex scenes, make it a long book. I don't care. Like, but give me like something to chew on. Give me something meaty. You know, I like that in a book.
Lauren likes meaty, chewy books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it? Meryl, take notes.
No, it's okay, Meryl. I'm just some girl. It's fine. I thought your book was great.
Just some girl.
I thought your book was incredible. I just shouldn't have listened to it via audiobook. That's going to be our opening line into the podcast.
These are Lauren's official notes. Meaty, chewy, please. Thank you.
Yep. That's how I like everything. Meaty and chewy.
How you will. Okay.
Okay. Well, that is Cleat Cute, everybody. Let us know what you thought of the book. I do think that this is going to be getting a lot of attention soon, especially with Megan and Sue at the helm of this. I'm very excited that this is their first venture into like production. I hope it's good. I hope it's good.
I really hope so.
I could see it going bad, honestly.
I know what I mean.
Because there's not a lot of plot.
It doesn't. Well,
go ahead.
They need a good team is what they need. They need a good team and they need good writers.
Yes. Meryl should absolutely be a writer on it for sure.
Well, yeah. They also need people who know how to write TV.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, let's cross our fingers that this is our new...
really get there. Please, Megan.
Yes.
Please, Sue. I'm
counting on you.
Counting on you guys, please. Okay.
I don't think we know what book we're going to do next. So actually, though, Haylie posted in our stories. Oh, they're not going to hear this. Well, maybe it might still be there. For book recs, for what you want to do. We did just have someone reach out to us about doing their book. So maybe we'll do that next. I don't know. Haylie and I haven't gotten a chance to talk about it yet.
Yeah, little surprise, everyone. Who knows what our next book
Who knows?
You could have some input.
Yeah, let us know. We have a huge list of books, but if there's one that seems to be an overwhelming majority, then we'll absolutely do that. But we'll probably come back with some L Word, maybe another cinema. Haylie, oh yeah, we're supposed to watch Bottoms.
Oh yeah.
We gotta watch Bottoms.
Guys, a way to support us that would really help us out is if you would leave us a review. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, on Audible, Spotify. On our Instagram story. If you go to our highlight that says support, you can click on that story and there's a link there. Follow it and you can fill out a review, and that would really help us out. And I would appreciate it so much. And then we can read your review. We would love it so much. So please do that. Download, share with people if you like our podcast. And we really love that you guys are here. Thank you so much.
Yes, we do. And I'm just impressed because I didn't know we had highlights on Instagram. So good job, Haylie.
Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you for doing that. Also, one of our TikToks has over 100,000 views now.
Ooh.
I know. So join us on TikTok as well. I think we're funny. But yeah, let us know how you think we can make the podcast better. I would love to do meetups because I look at our numbers and you guys are all listening. So just give us a little text, give us a little review. I see you guys. And thank you for being here with us. We love doing this. It is honestly, for me at least, so much fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Okay. We love you.
Love you guys. Bye.